on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror Volume 5, Day Dux. And yes, so we're going to take it back to the 80s, specifically 1989, with a film released by 88 Films on their glorious Italian collection line, and it is called Paganini Horror. Yes, based on the real person Paganini, who was actually an Italian violinist way back in the 18th century. He was actually very famous for apparently selling his soul to the devil for fame and fortune and stuff. So this is kind of a story based around that real life person. So written and directed by Luigi Cozzi, who, if you're not familiar with his work, you know, he's most probably famous for doing Contamination, among other very low-budget films. That was an Alien ripoff. But he's mostly famous for being Dario Argento's right-hand man. He worked with Argento on tons and tons of films, and even to this day, he's still basically his right-hand man. He works with him on everything he does, pretty much. So it's actually co-written by Daria Nicolodi, who, of course, was Dario Argento's lover. And she started many of Argento's films also, too. So what a lot of people don't know is that she actually was quite a prolific writer. She wrote a lot of Italian horror and co-wrote a lot of things like Suspiria and things like that, which I don't think she really got the full credit for. But yeah, getting into the synopsis of Paganini Horror. Basically what we got here is we've got pretty much an all-female rock band, Euro rock band, that is kind of struggling with making the current hits. And their producer slash engineer is very fed up with the sound that they have right now, and basically tells her that, you know, if you don't get your shit together, I'm going to kind of drop you because you guys are just not producing the hits anymore. So the drummer decides he's going to buy a piece of music off Donald Pleasance's character. And this piece of music was actually written by Paganini way back in the day, but never released. So they're like, well, that's perfect. It's got to be amazing music and things like that. We can record this music, put it out, and it'll be a sure hit, and we'll put our careers back on path. So that's what they do. Well, actually, they go back to the studio, they play the music, and of course, when they play the music, Paganini himself actually appears in this house where they go to shoot this video for the song, and everyone starts getting picked off one by one, of course. So that is the synopsis of the film. Now, my thoughts on this one? Now, this movie right here it's definitely not a great movie. If you're familiar with Luigi Cozzi's films, he does very low budget type films, and, you know, he doesn't really have the talent that someone like a Mario Bava has, you know, when they have no budget. They can turn a low budget film into something that looks very special and you know, feels very special. Cozzi doesn't really have that. It kind of shows here, but there is definite moments of, you know, good cinematography and things like that in the movie. It was plagued with a lot of production issues too. You know, the budget was cut way in half last minute and stuff. The original screenplay actually was calling for a lot more gore, which was interesting for a Cozzi film because he didn't really do a lot of splatter films and stuff like that, but he was going to go ahead and do this one. But again, the budget got cut, so they had to really rely on very cheap effects in this, and they had to dumb down the horror effects also, the gore effects. But with that said, actually, the effects on the kills in this film, some of them are actually pretty good. There's some pretty unique kills and stuff like that. So it actually kind of worked out pretty good, and I would have loved to have seen the original screenplay with, you know, with the more gore and stuff like that, but hey, that's just the way it goes. This is a very, very strange and uneven film. Pretty much it starts out with kind of like a prologue, and then you're kind of wondering how the fuck that really, you know, plays into the whole film. And by the end of the film, it kind of makes sense. It's a twist ending in this movie. It's just like, holy shit, what the fuck? It's crazy, but it actually does completely make sense. I mean, in some kind of weird nightmare logic, it does actually make sense given the prologue. But this is a very strange, uneven film. A lot of the characters are empty. You don't really care about them. There is a lot of beautiful women in this film and stuff like that, but, you know, the dialogue and things like that, not really the greatest. The dubbing's pretty poor. And actually, even Donald Pleasance's character in this film has his voice dubbed. And the reason for that is because Donald Pleasance, when he did this movie, he went on to the next movie like he always did. He was very prolific with, you know, doing film after film after film. And he generally, when he did these low-budget Italian or Euro films, he would always dub his own voice. In this case, he never got a chance to, so it's actually dubbed over, and it sounds hilarious. Like, the dub on Donald Pleasance's voice is absolutely hilarious. And he's totally hamming it up in this fucking movie, too, which is even greater. I don't want to give away who Donald Pleasance is, but I kind of said something at the beginning, you know, this movie is, you know, Paganini was famous for, you know, selling his soul to the devil and things like that. So that may be a theme in this, kind of like a Foss story. But, you know, lo and behold, this one's actually pretty damn fun. The music is done by Vince Tempera, who actually did scores for... He worked with Fulci quite a bit. I know he did the score for the Apocalypse, and he also did The Psychic, and he did a couple of the later TV films, Sweet House of Horrors and House of Clocks and things like that, among Italian films. So the music actually is pretty good in this. Now, the funniest thing ever is the Euro female band's music in this. Oh my god, the movie starts out, the credits are rolling, they're playing their music, and it's literally a straight-up rip-off of You Gave Love a Bad Name from Bon Jovi. The music is identical. It's absolutely so funny. The lyrics are all changed and shit, but it's the exact same music. It's so fucking funny to hear, man. I was like, what? Come on. You know, Italians always ripping off American films, and now they're ripping off American music too. It's kind of funny. But overall, for a messy-ass, low-budget film that, you know, shows you know, some decent shots and things like that. There's one kill in this movie that I will say was actually pretty damn cool. And another one that was really kind of gross and shit. And I was surprised at how much effects were put into that since they didn't really have the budget for it and stuff. So there was a couple unique moments in there. But the overall film of what's going on in the house and stuff, it's kind of cool. It's not original. It's been done before, but it's fun. It's fun. If there's no other reason to watch this movie, it's definitely to watch Donald Pleasance's performance in this. Now, he was signed on for a week to do his scenes, and he actually got them all done in 3 days. And you can kind of see, man, there's a really great scene where he's actually on top of this building and he's throwing something off the building. I won't give that away, but I do highly recommend this film. Like I said, it's not a great Italian film. It looks very low budget because, you know, the film stock and everything that they had to use for this and shit, but it does definitely look a lot older. But if you like these cheesy bad films, bad effects, movies with force fields and shit, and alternate worlds and realities and shit, check out Paganini Horror. It's actually pretty damn fun. This was like rewatching the movie rewatching for the first time. That makes no sense. This is like watching it for the first time because I'd seen this movie before in an old bootleg with a VHS transfer and shit like that, and I think it was actually a different cut of the movie. From what I've heard, there actually is a different version out there. This is the version to get, though. But there is another version where the ending's a little bit different, and I believe it has to do with some solar system shit, and it got a little bit away from the horror and things like that, and I'm pretty sure that's the version I saw before, so it must have been like a European bootleg or some shit. But yeah, lo and behold, Paganini Horror, fun-ass movie, man. Really, what can you say, man? I recommend it. If I had to rate this one, I'm going to come in at a fun-ass 7 out of 10. Straight fun factor. But yeah, Paganini Horror, check it out. Really cool shit. So that's going to do it here for day 2, guys. I'll be back tomorrow. And like I say, probably every time in the 31 days of horror after every review. I don't know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I'm one of those kind of spur of the moment people that whatever I feel like doing, I will do in that moment. But I usually do go back and forth between new and old. So expect a newer film tomorrow. But yeah, I'll check you guys then. And as usual, deuces!